Welcome in everyone to our alchemy call today. If you don't know me, my name is Kat Villain, and I like to have these free calls for my community every Wednesday at 11 a.m. PST right here inside of my app. So I love bringing in conversations in these calls around more of the spiritual or esoteric or other pieces of the yoga practice rather than just the physical practice. So I Snow Moon, yes, Jesse, okay. So I do want to preface this with I'm actually probably going to go live on Instagram later today to chat about this, but the point of a yoga practice is the physical body, right? It is really to create this beautiful home for your soul. And so that is the foundation of the practice. And then we get to bring in these other layers that I bring in through these calls. And so today I wanted to talk about nurturing your nature. And this is one of the ways I've probably lived my life for as long as I can remember. I grew up in a northern kind of city in Canada, so it was very cold and also very hot, and it got all the polarities. But I just remember spending my childhood, and probably if you're around my age, like 35, 36-ish, or older, you probably grew up more in this way, more connected to nature because we just didn't have all of these screens, all of this technology, all of the things that are like really modern. And I just grew up foraging. I grew up like picking Saskatoon berries off of the trees. I grew up really like always wanting to be out in nature, even when it was cold. And so when we talk about nurturing our nature, it's really about nurturing that part of ourself that is deeply connected to nature. And so when we can do this, we start to thrive. And so if any of you have looked around in this world, in this day and age, the modern day world is making us sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker, right? There's not a lot of healthy, vibrant, shining people out there. And it's because we have lost this connection with our nature, with nature. And so there's really simple ways that we've lost this connection, right? Being in front of our screens all the time, sitting all the time, driving around everywhere. The things that have made life very convenient have taken us away from places where actually our body is meant to experience a little bit of stress. Kina said, I made a baby snowman on one of the branches of my favorite tree today, and her child was very happy. Yes, yes, yes. And these are the little things that we can do, right? And kids will bring it out in you, right? They will show you what their nature is. And so when I look for new health practices to bring into my life, the first place I go into nature and I start to observe what's happening. And so some of the things that like we've adopted in the modern day world, right, just aren't good for us. And so you could probably look at your life and pick out a few things, like we all have them, where we're like, yeah, it's not great that I'm staring at a screen all day or like at night, or it's not great that like I'm starting my day off with coffee. Nature's not doing that, like to get me going, to give me energy. It's not great that um, I'm working like 10 hours a day at a job that I don't like. Like there's things in our life that are just simply not supporting our health and our wellness, and our body will tell us, right? How many of you say we're in a relationship and your body knew it and it was like telling you, right? And you didn't listen and it like started to break down, or a job, or a friend circle, whatever it is, your body starts to tell you when things are misaligned, whether it's through chronic pain, whether it's through big health crises, whatever it is, right? Your body is constantly communicating to you because your body is simply the communication tool for your mind. And so when we start to take in different health practices and we're looking for different health practices so that we can start to feel better, it's honestly so simple. It's so simple. And that's why nobody's going to tell you it, right? And so little things that you can do to support your nature, and everyone, I want to preface this with like everyone is in your own place, right? Like you are maybe in cold weather and it's like snowing outside and freezing. Maybe you live in the tropics and it's always warm. Maybe you're in a temperate climate like me and it's just like honestly always neutrally cold all the time, right? And so we all have our own place and we all have our own way that nature is influencing us. And so that's why when I teach you these practices, it's not for you to do exactly as I say. It's for you to take little pieces and start to look around where you are that's going to be able to come into your life that makes sense for you, right? And so yes, we're all kind of created the same, right? We have like the same fits in our body, the same measurements. Like we are, I think it's like we're 85 mothers removed from the first mother. Like it's actually not like we're not that far from source, right? And so when we're playing with our body, you need to be able to take in things that make sense to you. And so, for instance, if you were, a Native American living in like the polar part of Canada in the winter, you were eating seal blubber all winter, right? If you were where I am down here, right, the natives were hunting fish all the time and small game. And so if you were somewhere else, right, you're going to be bringing in different things because you live somewhere else. And so I want you to use your own mind when we go through this, because how you align to nature, is going to be very much based on where you are, right? And so one of the simplest ways, and I tell you guys to do this all the time, all the time, all the time, is to wake up right before sunrise, right? To wake up before sunrise and do your yoga practice, do a meditation practice, do a breathwork practice, go into one of my free practices, do a little video. If you're in my yoga studio, do a breathwork practice, right? Do one of the yoga practices. And then as the sun is rising, and you take off your glasses, if you have glasses, don't use sunglasses, don't even wear sunglasses in the daytime, they're so bad for you, right? You go out into the sun and you take in all that beautiful red light and you just take in the scenery. And if it's cold outside, you're still meant to be outside, right? So put on a hat and like be a little bit cold. Like your body is meant to experience a little bit of stress and tension. We're not meant to be so complacent and like warm all the time and like going into warm cars and like, like all the ways that make life really easy are making us sicker and sicker, right? Like the prepackaged food, all of this stuff. And so sunrise is the best thing that you can do for yourself, is to orient yourself. And so that means that like I could say, oh, I go out at 7 a.m. and I experience sunrise. Jesse said I did it this morning. It was so cold, but so wonderful. Yeah. Jesse also started implementing. So she's from Canada too. And she was like, oh, Kat, I'm so cold all the time. I just hate the cold. I want to stop hating the cold. And I told her, because like, when I lived in Canada, I lived in like the coldest part of Canada, and I would bike everywhere in the winter. And so it froze, like my eyelashes would freeze to my face. If I started crying, it was game over. So I had to like not let my eyes water, right? Otherwise my eyeballs would like freeze shut together. It was so gnarly. But when I started biking and I started taking cold showers, like cold showers in the winter in Canada are friggin' cold. They're so cold. But I would work up to 10 minutes in the shower and the cold wouldn't faze me anymore. And I remember hating the cold. And it was that practice that allowed me to, None was there for that. I remember that, Kat. No, it was that practice that allowed me to actually not be so contracted around the cold, saying that it was wrong. So Jesse did that and was like, I actually really liked it, right? And so Rachel said I went for an hour walk in the woods this morning at -17. Yeah, that's Celsius for all you Americans. I don't know Fahrenheit yet. And so these are practices, and it's not to, like, you want to be safe, of course, like don't get frostbite, but like we don't need to be like layering up so much. Like it's really good for your body to experience cold. That's why I like jump in the ocean here. It's freezing cold. It's freezing cold outside. It might look sunny in the videos, but it's so cold. But what you're doing is you're stressing the body out and letting it adapt to its environment, right? Cold therapy is great. Hot therapy is great. Like getting this contrast in your body. I like to have a walk in the morning, like exactly. And that walk right in the morning, some kind of exercise right in the morning before you like eat anything or do anything, is going to get all the hormones in your body ready to start taking in the food, the environment, the day, your cortisol is going to rise up so that, you get that stress hormone in the day to like get moving, to get going. Like this is supposed to happen. We're not supposed to be stressed at night and working so late at night, right? We are supposed to have that right in the morning. And so when we're not feeling like we have energy in the morning, that's not natural, right? It's not natural. And so something is happening in this cycle, in this natural cycle within you, that you get to recalibrate, right? And it takes time, because how long have we been living unnaturally, right? Under unnatural lighting. And so this is one of the best things you can do, is to just wake up early, even if at first it's hard, even if you're like, oh, I like to sleep in, it will change your life. It will change your life. It will change your day. It will change everything about how you're feeling to go outside in the elements. And one thing that comes through in the 5 element cycle is the elements, right? In winter, it's cold, right? The element is this cold descending, right, energy. It's the water that's raining down. In springtime, it's wind, right? In summer, it's heat. We're meant to be hot in the summer, right? In the autumn, right, it is that dryness. And then the late summer is dampness. And then again, winter is the cold. And so our body is meant to go through this expansion and contraction in the seasons and in the day too, right? And so we just become more resilient when we are more adapting to nature. And so yes, if you're in Canada and all the animals are hibernating, you're meant to be hibernating more, right? And if you're where I am and all the animals are still out eating the green grasses, I'm meant to be out more. And so the more time you can actually spend under natural lighting, right, the better it's going to be for you. And so the same with sunset. If you can be available for sunset, right, and sunrise, these are the best times for that red light, right? Red light is so, so, so healing for your body. We used to be under it all the time, right? Because we would always be there for the sunrise, right? We would always be there for the sunset because we're finishing up our tasks or we're beginning our tasks for the day. And then in the daytime, right, we're in the daytime, we're out, we're doing what we need to do, right? We're doing it however we need to do it in creature nature, go out and look for things and go to the grocery store and grab some food and go to work and do a little bit of work. And then when the sun sets, you're meant to retreat and go inside of your home, not have a million lights on blasting you in the face, right? You're meant to turn all those lights off and you're meant to do some nice, gentle, relaxing time, right? Whether you're reading, whether you're crafting, whether you're doing some yoga. My favorite nighttime practice is to do supported bridge pose, which is in the free practices, recline twist, and then I do my plow pose with sandbags. So if you're in my virtual studio or if you're in the longevity series, I go through plow pose in that. And so that's my nighttime ritual. And I sit in front of my EMR Tech red light because it has the near and far infrared, right? And on my chest, I take off all my clothes and I just sit in front of the red light. And I don't have heat in my house, so I'm freezing. But that's part of it, right? It is really to understand that when you are adverse to things, right? When your body contracts around things, right? These are places that you can also expand into. And so when we nurture our nature is inherently linked to the sun and the moon. And so I knew the full moon was soonish. I didn't know if it was exactly today, but it is. So that's the other piece of it, right, is the moon. And so the reason why it's so hard to sleep during the full moon, why we all go crazy, is because we don't get the light shutting down, right? That light is still, even though it's reflected, right, from the moon, it's still in the sky. And it's hitting our eyes. And so we're oh, I can't sleep, right? That's why it's even better to go inside in the full moon and to get that darkness to come in so that you can tell your body to have this natural rest. Also in nature, right? And if you're a woman, you understand this. If you're on the white moon cycle, the fertile cycle, when it's easiest to conceive, it's when you would be ovulating with the full moon. And so you're frisky, so you're wanting to be awake, right? And so you also have to layer your own cycles with this, right? Because you're going to have, as women, right, a bigger rise and fall when you're in your reproductive years, whereas men have the 24-hour clock, right? And so when we nurture that part of our nature too, there's going to be over the month times when we're actually going to want to be out more, right? More creative. There's going to be times when we want to be in more. And so I've gone through this before with the seasons, right? Winter is a time to go in, summer is a time to go out, right? If you're in my virtual yoga studio, we are moving through specific practices and techniques and ways to move in the body and be in the body through each season. So you align your body to that season and to support the organs that are in their expression in that season. And so that is the first piece is orient yourself to the sun. And if you're in front of screens all the time, obviously, where I don't wear them on my videos because it's just so glary, but the blue light glasses, right? I'm always using them when I'm on my computer. And so to block the toxic blue light from all of the technology, before I got my blue light glasses, I was my eyeballs were burning at the end of the day. And I was what is going on? And I was that must be what it is, right? And the moment I put them on, I was sleeping so well. My eyes weren't hurting anymore, right? And so we really need to learn that the things that are comfortable in our lives that are making life easier for us, in a sense, are sometimes hurting us. They're sometimes harming us, right? And so yes, like I love to be here working online for you, and it's like been the most fruitful entrepreneurship adventure that I've had, and it's just so incredible, right? But at the same time, now I'm behind a screen a lot more than I was in other ways I used to teach yoga. And so you really have to understand that yes, we get to take advantage, right, of all the beautiful things that the internet provides and that technology has given us, that we can drive like all the way over here and like go have a beautiful vacation. Like these are beautiful parts of the modern day world, but you also have to learn to protect yourself, right, against the things that are harming you, and also bring in more nature into your life and make an effort to do it, right? Make an effort to go to bed earlier, especially if the sun sets earlier, right? Make an effort to start saying no to things that aren't serving you. And so other ways to align with your nature, right, is like, so I look at like exercise. How should we exercise, right? And so I teach you this yoga practice so you can learn to move optimally in your body, because when you're in your optimal alignment, this is going to flow out into your life. When you can reprogram the muscles of your body and restructure yourself so that you understand where the center of your bones are, right? Where the effortlessness is in each posture. And yes, of course, that takes time to get there. But when you can do that, it is going to flow out into your everyday life, right? You're going to be like, oh, well, that tension is leaving because you're not sitting in your habitual patterning, because you're learning what that is on the mat and you're unwinding it. And so the yoga practice is this formal way in which you get to repattern your body so that when you're in your day to day, right, it's effortless, it's easier, right? You're not having to think about the pain that's in your body all the time, because you're realizing like, oh my God, I'm always standing with my toes out. Like, no wonder I have low back pain. No wonder my sacrum hurts. Turn your toes in, right? You start to notice these little things, because when you understand where you're meant to be, right, you can never unsee it. And so obviously, yoga as an exercise, right? I do not believe, even though I'm obsessed with it, I do it every day, twice a day, it's not whole in and of itself, right? Like you're doing this practice so that you, when you go walking, right, you could do it forever, right? You could just like walk a long time. But in nature, what do animals do? Do they run marathons? Anyone? Is nature running a marathon, right? Is nature like overexerting itself all the time? Like, absolutely not. Nature is conserving its energy for flight, right? Or fight. And so that's how our system is designed. When you keep running through your day, right? Whether it's running that marathon or whether it's like never stopping in your day, right? You are keeping your stress levels so high. And then you don't have that polarity, right? You're meant to have those dips, up and down, up and down, up and down, because that builds that tension in your body. And so when we learn this, and when you learn to see nature, it's like, oh yeah, like if I'm driving by a deer, it's like grazing, it's like happy, it's eating, it hears a noise and it just bolts, right? And then it's good. And so exercise like that is so good for the body, right? It's so good to just like go and like sprint for 6 seconds and then walk and then sprint and then walk, right? It's good to like pick up some weights and like do weights for 10 minutes, right? And then that's it. You don't need to be at the gym for 2 hours a day, because when you're doing that, you're keeping your stress, your cortisol too high. And so just really understanding that tension and that polarity, right, is going to, again, that's your nature. You're meant to know how to bolt when you need to, and you're also meant to know how to rest and unwind and spend a lot of your day not being stressed all the time. And so even this is in the more metaphorical sense, like how many of us are in our heads like stressed about like little things that really we don't need to be stressed about, like running those loops in our mind that aren't even real, right? They're just stories that we've created or that has been passed down to us. And so when you understand this, right, and you start to see these stories like, oh, I don't actually need to be stressed out by this right now. I'm totally fine. Whether it's, I don't have enough money, or I'm like not making enough, or I don't feel safe in the situation, or, like just there's these inner feelings that they might be true in your situation, then you have to leave, right? But if you have great food in front of you, if you're not starving, if you have like beautiful people around you, and there's this underlying fear, right, then this is what you have to start to work on within your own programming, your own belief system, which is a whole other conversation. But when you start to shed light on this stuff, right, you start to pay attention to your thoughts, right, that are keeping you from the moment, which is where nature resides, is only in the moment, right? Those things that are pulling you away and creating worries in your mind and stresses, right? This is what you have to pull back to the moment and then keep asking yourself, right? This is the best practice you can do for this is like, in this moment, what's around me? What is true? I'm not hungry. Even if I am hungry, I know there's food coming, right? In this moment, I actually have everything I need. In this moment, I'm warm or cold, whatever it is, right? Just really being true and embodied in this moment is the best thing you can do, right? Because then you start to realize that the stories become more available for you to see, where like you get to see what is not true, what is not yourself. So that's the present moment awareness, right? I mean, talk about it all the time in yoga, right? Just have presence. And it's like, how do you do that? My mind's over here and it's over there and it's up there and it's down here. It's everywhere but right here. And so that's why we do these physical practices, right? That's why you do the breathwork practice, because it focuses your mind. You're pulling your mind back. Like there's like you're catching a fish and you're reeling it back. You're constantly reeling back your mind to this moment. And when you can do that over and over and over again, and that's why like the meditation practice is that's the practice for your mind, but you get there through yoga and then breathwork and then meditation, right? Body, breath, and then mind. And when you get there and you're in your practice and you notice it wander, you just bring it back. And it's a constant practice, right? Because it's always going to do that. And so instead of judging it or, thinking it's bad or wrong or like, oh God, I'm never going to be able to like shut it off. Like, no, of course not. You have consciousness, you have awareness, but how can you reel it back to this moment? How does your body feel, right? And touch your body, right? And just be in your body, the sensations in your body. How's the breathing? Is it deep? Is it shallow? Are you thirsty? Like really the primal human needs, like check in with those because all those modern day worries start to layer on top of that. And then again, they make us sick because we are constantly, right, perceiving life that something is wrong or that there's something to fear or that we are not safe. And so this adds to layers of illness in our body, right? Modern day illness, which is really mental, right? A lot of the modern day illnesses, of course, there's like a lot of body illnesses, but what we're seeing more and more of is the mental illness of the mind, right? And so, again, everything wants your mind. So pull your mind back to you, to what is true for you in this moment, to what you're looking at, to who's around you, to the tasks at hand, right? To how your body feels, to what your body needs. Does it need food? Does it need rest, right? And also know, right, that you are here to feel better and better every day, right? That's the point of the practice. It's so that you can live a good life. And so you're aligning your body physically, you're aligning your mind, right, to what's in front of you, who you are, what you truly desire. And then you are bringing it all to this place of like, okay, I am positioned in this circumstance in time and space. How do I use it to my advantage, right? How do I align more with nature? How do I get more in nature? Because the more and more, right, you guys can tell me this, that you go out in nature, how many of you just like get the downloads in nature? And you're just walking out and you're just like, everything's perfect. Everything smells so good. Like, it's just so beautiful. The light is hitting that grass so perfectly. And it's like a spiritual experience to be in nature. And we get in front of our screens and in our day-to-day lives, and we're just like, ah, and we're freaking out, right? And so the more and more you can calibrate yourself to that feeling, to what gives you that feeling of like, it's all perfect, right? Whether you're in a craft, right? It's like what you love to do, and you're like, oh my God, this is so good, right? You're going to create that frequency in your everyday life, in the things that maybe annoyed you before, right? And you're just like, oh, this also is perfect because I wouldn't be creating it in front of my very eyes, right? I wouldn't be a match for it if it wasn't here for me right now. And so when we honor our nature, what we're also honoring is what we actually want to do on this planet, right? We are honoring who we want to be around on this planet. We are honoring how we want to hold ourselves, right? And so those are some of the biggest things that you have to recalibrate. And so if you work a job that you hate for 40 hours a week, that's insanity. It is. I remember being there. I was doing like 50 hours a week and I was like, this is insanity. I hate my life. I hate my job. Like I don't even know what to do, right? And so you really have to reassess that because this will affect you. This will affect you. And if you're in a relationship that's not serving you, that you just like cannot stand, right? You have to look at that. And so there's parts of our body that like we have stories where like, oh, this is all that there is. Or, maybe if this happens, I'll feel safe when, right? If I like work another job and start making enough money or whatever, you're waiting for that moment, right? You're waiting for that perfect moment where it will all just line up. Well, that's barely going to happen ever. It's like if it does, wow, congrats, right? But most of the time, what we have to do is do the thing. And then everything that we want comes in. So I really want you to think back to moments in your life. Like my favorite thing that happens to me all the time is when I have a little, this is my little Taurus rising moment. So I have a little cart open with some clothes and I'm like, oh, I really like these clothes. And I'm like, I shouldn't buy them. I buy too many clothes. And then I finally click the button like a week later because I'm like, oh, I can't stop thinking about this. Buy the clothes. And then literally after I buy the clothes, someone will buy something on my site for like exactly the same money. And it happens to me all the time. So it's just like a little example. And I'm sure you can think of examples in your life where you like were ruminating on the thing again and again and again. And it was creating this like blockage in a sense, right? It was blocking you from something. And the moment you said yes to it, right? It just like everything realigns to support that decision, but you had to make the decision first. There was nothing that was going to tell you and confirm your reality before that event happened. Like that was the right move for me to make, right? You get the confirmation after. And so half the time we have to take the step and step into, right, the abyss, the oblivion before we are rewarded. And so this is a very silly example, a very materialistic example, maybe very human and you can relate to it. But there's other moments in life where you quit the job, right? And you're like, shit, got all these bills to pay. You quit the job, and then all of a sudden the perfect job comes in. You leave the relationship, the love of your life comes in, right? And so there's all of these like bigger decisions we have to make than just friggin' checking out a cart, right? But those are just little reflections of like, oh my God, trusting yourself, right? Trusting your gut, trusting that you know, because a part of you is living in that other timeline already, right? And so you're being nudged for a reason. Even if it's the smallest reason, it's like, you're over here. Come on, let's go. And you're just like, it's scary over there. I'm right here and I'm used to this, right? But oftentimes to get over there, we have to make those big decisions. That's when you honor your nature. It's the nature of your soul. It knows what you want. It's like knows what you're here for, right? And anything else is going to feel like dissonance to your life, right? It's going to feel like this isn't quite right, but I might stick with it because it's safe. And so we are at a time where we really get to understand that also you can do anything. You can choose anything. Like we are at this really limitless time where you can create anything. We're seeing that again and again. The mind is so powerful. Your thought is creating everything. So you really have to watch your thoughts, right? And so honoring your nature is really so simple. To be healthy is really so simple. And we try to find the most complicated ways in which to be healthy. My daughter was listening to, I'm doing like this course, and she's talking about like protein powder and like how bad it is for the body. And my daughter's like, why is protein powder bad? She doesn't know what it is. I'm like, well, because in the modern day world, they're taking all of these chemical constituents and they're plugging it into a supplement or into something that's convenient, right? And they're saying, hey, instead of going out and buying a steak and cooking a steak, you can take this and then you don't have to do all that work and just do a shot of this and you're good to go. And I was like, but that's not nature. Like that's so complicated. You would never find that in nature. And there's all this weird stuff in it that the body doesn't even recognize because your body's created in nature. And so it's just these little things of like, I don't even ever go on the inside aisles of the grocery store ever, right? Like my food needs to be as close to what I meant to be eating as possible. And when you start to do that, there's actually a really amazing simplicity that comes through. It's so simple. Wake up with the sunrise, like all the tribal people used to do. Go inside at sunset, but be available for that red light. Play in the daytime in the sun when it's out. Be in the elements, right? Like truly be in the elements. And so whatever that means for you, like I have moments living off grid and there's like a big rainstorm coming where I'm like, God, I remember when I used to just get to sit inside in the rain. And now I'm like out in the rain, fixing gutters, turning generators on, making sure my chickens are okay, like running around. And I'm just drenched in the rain, in the wind, right? And I don't even bother, honestly, wearing clothes because there's no point. They just get wet. So I just go full out there. I'm in the middle of the woods, it doesn't matter. But it's so invigorating. It is so liberating. Of course, I'm forced to do it because I just wouldn't do that. But when we can, like, you know, my daughter does that all the time. She just takes off all her clothes. She puts a little bucket underneath a drip and she creates her own little cold plunge. And she just like is so excited about it. And so kids really tell us like what is natural, right? And so invigorate your body, right? Put your body under pressure, under tension. Know that it is okay, right? And the more you can put your body in those uncomfortable places and expand into them, the more you're going to learn to do that in life. When life is uncomfortable, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I'm not going to contract and close down. I'm going to expand into it. Red light is reflected from the color green in nature. Oh, I like that. Nothing more liberating than being nude in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, truly. I thought it was like, I had a moment where I was like, maybe I should live in town and just like be towny. And then I realized I've just been showering outside for 4 or 5 years, just no shower inside. It just doesn't matter if I wear clothes. I'm like, actually, I don't think many people get to live like this. And so I'll take it with all the hardship that comes with it. Um, and so, and that's the other thing, right? And I mentioned like the sunglasses. I never wear sunglasses. I don't wear sunglasses for so long. When I'm actually outside in the sun, I take off my glasses. I just like to wear them like when I want to see like birds and stuff like that. But getting that natural light, like you have so many photoreceptors in your eyes, getting that natural light in your eyes is going to create everything your body needs to protect your skin from the sun, right? Like you have to get that light in your eyes, and sunglasses block that from happening. So when you don't get that light from sunglasses, you burn because you haven't told your eye, your body, through its photoreceptors, that the sun is out. And so all these things that we're doing in our day to day, put the hats on, which is like fine if you're like in the sun a lot, right? But sunglasses, the sunscreen, like everyone's inside more, and skin cancer goes up and up and up, right? Like, you know, we're just not actually learning how to take in the sun, and we need to. People think the sun is bad, but it really brings out toxins to eliminate. Yeah, the sun is like the most healing thing in the world. I mean, and you all know it, right? You go out to the beach and it's warm and you take your clothes off and you're just so, so happy. How can anyone tell you that's wrong, right? Like, yes, of course, do not come from a like Canada in the winter and you go to Mexico and you're out in the sun for 8 hours and you burn and you're like, the sun's so bad. It's like, no, you didn't do it right because your body was just in one place and now you're in another place and you haven't adapted, right? And so we have to put that into consideration as well. But like that feeling, I remember when I was a teenager, right when spring came in Canada, I would just go out in my backyard with my bikini on and I would be tanning every single day until I got my base tan. And it felt so good. Like the things that feel really good, right, that are just free, like use those, right? That is what your body is like, yes, 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 more of this. And I really wanted to bring through this conversation because you guys, it's so simple. You know, we should not have so much pain. We should not have so much suffering on this earth, but we really have to take responsibility for ourselves, right? We have to understand how to take care of our health. And it's all right outside if you look, right? The birds are chirping the moment the sun comes out, right? They kind of hide when the rain comes out, right? Everything kind of goes to sleep at night, right? We go in, we rest, we recover. And so we really need to take ownership over that and change our life where we can so that we can support our innate nature and be more in the natural world, because it's so much easier when the body feels good. It's so much easier to live life. It is so much easier to show up to your job, to show up to your family, to show up to anyone around you when you're feeling incredible. And if you're not, right, it's so hard. It just like bothers you. Everyone bothers you, but it's not them, it's you. And so, you know, the first part is taking ownership and taking responsibility and really making the commitment to yourself to do this, to live life differently, to, you know, understand that like if you want to feel good, you don't need to spend $1 million. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars. There's really simple things that are free, completely free, right? And they're not telling you about them because how do you market something that's free, right? Nature is boldly marketing herself all the time, right? You look at like the sun and the forest or the ocean or a lake and it's like, come on in, right? Of course, that's what we're supposed to do. So today, your homework is if you notice yourself mindlessly in a screen, right? If you're not consuming beautiful material like this or doing your yoga practice or learning from me, right? You are going to turn off your phone. Stop scrolling, stop watching TV, right? Do not watch TV at night. Just turn it all off and just go do something in nature or do your yoga practice. Close your eyes. Take time for yourself. And those little moments of time, those pockets of time that you take to support yourself are going to change everything. Everything. And it's so simple. And you can do it with 5 minutes a day, right? You can go watch the sunrise and the sunset and just be available for it. You can, if you're, at work and you have to eat, bring your food outside. Do not eat in front of a screen, right? Go eat in nature. Like, do the things like I've been loving. I eat a lot of salmon. We have fresh salmon here, and then if you don't eat sardines, like the best food in the world, they're not the best tasting. I love them, but you go eat your fish by water, right? And I'm just like, okay, how can I be more like, in nature, like just chomp on my steak while staring at a deer, like how can you bring in those little things so that you're almost awakening this primal part of you that is like, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And of course, there's some magical component that if you're eating fish by the water, like you're going to get more nutrients, right? And it's just like, duh. But you hear that and you're like, what? But it is. It's like when you can do it in the right place at the right time and align to your circumstances, even though we're modern, even though I bought the fish, I'm not hunting for the fish, right? It's awakening something within me that's like, this is right. And I'm going to get more out of it because it makes sense, right? So little tiny simple things. Sherry said, I remind myself that everything wants my mind, and that brings me back. It reminds me to be more conscious about what I consume. Yeah. And like the foods of the modern day world are meant to make your mind dumb. They are. Like you're meant to be eating fats for your brain. You're meant to be eating meat for your body, right? The packaged stuff, the sugar, the fruits, like all the beautiful looking things that are teasing you, like it's going to make you not be able to use your mind. And so, if you get rid of all sugar, honestly, your mind will get so clear. And they don't want you to have a clear mind. Nobody wants you to have a clear mind because you can't be controlled, right? And then you're like, oh no, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to work 2 hours today and be so friggin' effective. I'm going to live my life and be happy. Like, that's not what they want. They want to sell you pharmaceuticals. So, I mean, I could get on a big rant, but I'm not going to, because I like to keep it a little, vanilla. So anyway, this was today's conversation. And just know that it's so simple. The simpler you can get in your life, right? Bringing it down to the simplicity, you're going to not only save money, you're going to get more clear in your mind. You're going to know exactly what you want. You're going to be strong. Go do some sprints. You're going to be so strong. When someone tells you to do something you don't want to do, you're like, no, absolutely not, because you can just run away, right? And so these are just little things you can add in. Even if you take one of those little pieces, I know I live a pretty radical life, right? But I'm here to remind you that like anything is possible. Anything is possible for you. Anything is possible if you say yes, right? And you just have to really know that you're worthy, that you are capable, that you are limitless, and that you can transform. Absolutely, your body is so pliant. Yeah, radical living or no living. Exercise outside for breakfast is healing. It so is. Yeah. You guys, just go eat outside. Go walk outside. Just be in the sun. You'll see. And if you do that already, right? And so this is just confirmation. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'll pop this replay up when it's ready, and make sure, again, I'm going to remind you in this call that the Revolutionize Your Body free series is coming up in a couple of weeks. So make sure you're signed up for that. Or if you're in my app, it's just there's the Revolutionize Your Body. You'll see the little space. You can introduce yourself in there and what you're excited about learning. And this is where we work on the optimization of our bodies so that when you are exercising, when you are lifting weights, right, you're doing it aligned. Because when you can do it aligned, you're not going to hurt yourself, right? It's the way that your body, your bones, your muscles, everything is meant to be. So thank you everyone for being in here. I am wishing you the best week. Remember, you have homework. I'm giving you homework today, right? And I want you to, pick up one of those things and just start doing it. Start to live more simply wherever you can. And yeah, we are here to free each other. We are here to walk each other home. So I will see you next week. I will not be here, but I will see you the week after. Bye, Emma. Bye, Jesse. Bye, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here.